this morning, this conversation is an absolute representation of what real talk is in real time. And this morning, while I was having my morning siesta, Christina messages me, and well, the rest is history. We wanted to bring this conversation to life because it completely encompasses what I feel or what I envisage what real talk is. So I really appreciate you doing this random, spontaneous thing right now. What's the crack?
And I appreciate you holding it so that I can share it with my person before it goes out.
Oh,
For
what?
letting me own my shift. There you go.
Yay! This shit's light me up like a Christmas tree. Um, what we love and what we really wanted to share here more than anything, I think, well, for me, was the fact that you weren't going to message me and you weren't going to contact me, and you were just, you had this thing in you saying, don't. Who are you to message?
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, this is absurd. Who are you not to? Because we're one. And we wanted to really pull this apart because when we were talking, and we haven't even touched on it really, if you think about it, the separation that exists where we do this all the time. We do this shit all the time. We compare ourselves to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We feel inadequate next to another person. We feel that we can't accomplish or do anything. Like this is a prime example for me. I did the show Monday. My vulnerability hangover kicked in Monday night. I went straight to the sofa with a different hoodie, with a big hood, an even bigger hood, on Tuesday. And then I get a message from somebody like you who sees themselves in what I see, in who I am, hears themselves in what I say, witnesses themselves in what I write, because I am you. And that's what happened with you.
Yes, um, that's exactly what happened. And I think that what I have felt is a pull toward your and Michael's actually poetry and real conversation. So, I said to you, I happened upon Amanda Lawrence on Facebook through some way, no idea, couldn't tell you, this past summer. And she posted a conversation that you and Michael had, and I watched it. And so I went and found the two of you, and I joined Own Your Shift, and became a member and started looking, and it just resonates, and it resonates at a level that is me, that is you, right? And I think that's what it is. And what it did was unlock something for me, right? Your words, we had the conversation just before this. You had written in a poem that, or not in a poem necessarily, in a post that I read Saturday morning, that said, remember that inner child, right, is you. You're just in an older body, you're an older skin. And that was when it turned on me, right? Because the way I have been perceiving myself in this journey is as this is who I am today. And that little girl that I go back to has always been looked at by me, this ego as a part of me. And what you did was flip that around on me and made me realize the reason I don't feel any older is because I'm not. It's just my body that's older,
Yeah.
right? I am that 7-year-old little girl, and who I think I am today is a part of her.
Yeah.
And, normally what I've been able to do in the past is go and spend time with her, right? And invite her to come home to me. And, she's safe here. And what I'm realizing is I had to go home to her right? I had to unpack all of the shit that's been packed on me and piled on me and the weight of all of that. And I had to go, who I believe I am as a part, had to go back to my whole. And when I went back to this 7-year-old little girl sitting at the kitchen table in the home that I grew up in, I went directly through her, and I went back to the moment of creation, is what it feels like for me, right? It was a going back into unity and experiencing the separation happen. It was pieces of, it was circles, right? It was cells, it was whatever, just moving around, all choreographed beautifully. And the lights that you talked about earlier, where when we connect, that lights up, you can see that, right? And what happened in that moment of origin for me is absolutely reflected in what I now know is happening inside of my body at a cellular level, and is what's happening in our human experience as we are all in our circle, in our role, playing our role and touching one another, that we're lighting each other up, and that we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so now, how do I honor that and honor this human who's been tasked with this daunting task of feeling it all, in facing my fear and messaging someone who I feel like is more evolved than I am, who's more connected, who knows more, who hears more than me.
And yet, that's how I feel, have felt, will feel, because I'm human, about other people. And hearing you say that honestly is like the most liberating thing for me, because it really puts a spotlight on my humanness. It puts a spotlight on where I have been, the times when I felt completely separate, alone, less than, where I wouldn't dream of sending someone, in this community, a random message, because, well, who the fuck am I?
Right.
Who the fuck am I? And what do I think I'm doing? And I don't connect.
Foster.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't connect to, you know, or see things physically around me. But I know now my superpower is I feel.
Mhm.
And what I didn't know at the time, when I was, afraid to connect, I didn't realize I was afraid to connect with myself, because that's pretty much what's happening. I can't possibly connect with this person. Why? Well, because I might actually be accepted. I might be loved. I might be,
Right?
I might
What
be
the hell
honored.
would we do with that?
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is a prime example. I don't know you. Does it matter? No, because I feel you.
Mhm.
And in what I hear you say to me, I see me. I see an aspect of me. Granted, it's one that I have witnessed and gone through, but the split second I see that aspect of me, my heart is so expanded, because I'm understanding now, from the point of where I am in my own individual personal journey, that's no different from anybody else's,
Mhm.
is that I know what's coming for you. And that's the breakdown of the illusion that you are separate from anyone or anything else. Because we're all in here. We all have our skin suit on. We
Yep.
all have our own heart, our own eyes, our own ears, where we're seeing the world through our vantage point, based on our life experience, the culmination of our wounds and scars, the the overflow of suppressed emotion and thoughts and feelings, the beliefs embedded in us that we were completely committed to, that were never true.
Yeah.
And the understanding that there is no separation. It's just each individual human having their experience from their own unique vantage point that is no less than or no more than the other. And I don't need to, you know, have a direct line to X, Y, and Z. For me personally, I have enough on my plate dealing with my higher self at the minute who's done with taking my shit. So I don't need to go anywhere outside of myself. This is me personally. I did that for years. I have spent so much money, time, energy, presence on looking for things, looking for people, looking for anything outside of me to make me feel a little bit more worthy or a little bit more enough or, you know, a little bit more connected. When the only thing that I really ever needed was to find my way back to me and reconnect the aspects of me. So I love what you said when you were able to witness you through, and I am so humbled by something I shared from my heart when my heart was opening, and your understanding that that's where you needed to go without anybody telling you. Nobody told you that's where you go. You went because you felt it. And in feeling it, what happens is you unlock your own limitations, you lean into your own fears, your own hesitancy, your own programs. You go there, and then you had an experience like you had where you witnessed yourself as one part of the whole.
Yeah.
And then that takes you down another rabbit hole, like you talked about this morning, which is, am I losing my shit? Is this feeling real? Is this euphoria in my body? Am I, real? Am I, what's happening? Because we said it, sorry to interrupt, I was going to say, we said it. If this isn't something like you can go and, call one of your mates and say, let's go to Costa, or Costa is the equivalent of Starbucks in America. Let's go to Starbucks for a coffee and talk about our ascension symptoms. What's happening with you? You can't. Because they're looking at you like you're losing your shit.
Yeah, or they just smile and nod, right? And look pretty, and I don't understand a word you're saying. Yeah. Don't get any of it.
And what that does is fuel our separation more. Mm-hmm. Because it's like for the first time we find something, someone, something outside of us that doesn't feel like conflict or doesn't feel like chaos. And we allow ourselves to get a little bit, at ease with it. And then when somebody doesn't understand that, because our relationship is the most expansive place for us to grow, what they do is they're knowing, look, really, or I think, you need to see a doctor, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. Projection causes us to run for safety back into that little shell of it can't be real. And yet you experienced it.
Yeah. What's interesting for me is that the thought's it's popped up a couple of times, and what you just said is one of the things I just recently realized, and by recently I mean, probably like the last 48 to 72 hours, right? I have gotten a perspective on those projections. And what's become real for me is how many people I feel I owe an apology almost, because the burden of my projections, the burden of my expectations for someone else to heal those parts, for someone else to validate my worth. I mean, my partner, God love her, she deserves sainthood. She has for 2 years reflected with absolute clarity and honesty all of my wounds. And I guess in saying that, I realized that I've done the same for her, and how courageous and how brave we have been.
Yes.
For each other, right? To be that mirror, to love anyway, to love in spite of, to hurt each other at our very core. right? Because we see each other. And part of what I'm trying to figure out and have been trying to figure out is where that balance is, right? Because if I allow my ego to own that this human that I now recognize that, this is a human experience that I'm having, right? I can get really into my ego, right? And be like, hell yeah, right? Like, look at me, I'm evolved and I'm better than you, right? And so it's not that, and it's not force it down everybody else's throat. It's not save anybody else. It's how do I know that and live that and honor that at the same time I hold sacred my human aspect, this personality, this ego, this heart, this body, and really see someone else the way that I've now seen myself. And the only reason that I've asked you to hold this video is because there is a human balance that needs to be honored and respected. And I know that I'm going to go pick Erica up at the airport on Friday. And who I know and remember that I am, driving and riding in this human vessel, I think I'm going to see her for the first time. And I want her to see this and experience this with me before the rest of the world. She deserves that. It's through her support of me and my support of her and the relationship that we have for one another that I'm able to be here having this conversation with you today. Right? It's relationship that expands us and breaks us.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah. And how lucky are we to be in it? Right? How lucky am I to feel this? You said your superpower is healing?
No, feeling.
That's what I meant. Erica's superpower is healing. Feeling. I have always looked at it that I feel too much.
Yes. Who told you that? Do you know what I mean?
Everyone.
Where does this come from? And this is the shit I want to tackle. Who told you that you were too much? And I don't mean like you name and shame them, but I mean like society, the world, our environments told us we were too much because we would be able to feel, because we have the capacity to heal. And in that is our strength. And that's in each and every single person. And yet the world told you you're too much.
But you know where it did, but it didn't, because what you just said made me realize something is the reason that I've been too much or perceived as too much or thought of myself as too much is because the way that I felt, I projected on the world. I was not responsible with the energy that came with those feelings. Right? And so it is too much. If I come at you completely unbridled, you're going to feel every single bit of that. And that's heavy. I've been irresponsible with my feeling. I've been irresponsible with the energy that comes from my feeling. And so I think that that's right. And it's not because I knew better. Right? I didn't. Right? I know better today. In this moment, exactly I realize, hi.
There you go. Real time.
I realize that's Garfunkel.
Oh, wow. They're all into
it. So Simon and Garfunkel are the cats.
There you go. The cats are showing up to show us that we really shouldn't give a shit.
Well, I'm still in what I put on when I rolled out of bed. Yeah. So I didn't expect this any more than you. No. But I think, and so is it too much when we're irresponsible with it? Because
yes, I was going to say to you, when I say to you, who told you were too much, or when did the word exactly? That's where I'm going with this. And we didn't realize, like you're talking about your interaction, the dance that you have with the world, with your outside world, everything and everyone outside of you. never, ever, ever knowing that they are you.
Yes.
And you're talking about how I was possibly irresponsible with my energy, or what when I came at the world. But what was happening was you were coming at your own mirror
Yeah.
every time,
Begging to be seen.
never knowing, begging to be seen by you.
By me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's, yeah.
that's a kick up the arse. That realization, and I'm loving it because I'm watching you right now with these little pennies going ping, ping, right? You're on shit. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't have reached this on your own, but I'm loving what this conversation is
It's light
bringing
me
up,
up.
because this is what everybody does. Everybody is so frantically busy looking outside themselves, fighting a war with themselves, incapable of seeing themselves because they forgot to open their eyes.
Yeah.
And then it's easier then to turn around and say, who am I to contact this person or do this thing or go to this place or have this experience? And that's what I would love to just take to the ground, because this is just my perspective, just my own. I'm like, the sooner people realize that the demon they're fighting is themselves, that the angel that's blessing them is themselves, for me, that's when our world changes. That's when the balance flips. That's when the tables flip the fuck over.
It's self-actualization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because so for the last week, I have spent much of my time here alone. So my partner is out of town working, and we only have one kid here, and she doesn't spend a lot of time here. So she's gone being a teenager, right? And I was so tired and I didn't want to do anything. So I sat down and watched Lucifer. I binged Lucifer. Can I tell you that season 3 of this show was part of what ripped me apart last week? Is the lesson of self-actualization, that I think I'm a monster, but can someone see that monster side of me and still love me? And the answer is yes. And it starts with looking in the mirror, and right, it's that this is all of me, and what it has taken for me is to allow other people to see the monster and love me,
Or even deeper,
so
allow
that
you to
I
see the monster
could love me.
and love you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the shit.
It's the it's the realization that every time someone around me contracts or triggers is not because I've done something wrong, but because there's something hurting in them. And did I contribute to that in some way? And can I see that instead of responding that? Can I see that, and can I hold that and just let that be? Can I trust them? Can I trust them to work through their own shit without making it about me? Because that's what we want to do, is make it about us. And it is, but in our own individual experience. So letting people be me, and then also, be themselves, and then letting me be me, that we can be together without, I don't know, I'm rambling at this point.
You're not rambling. You're not, because what I'm hearing you talk about is the absolute representation of what union is and unity is. That I'm over here sovereign in my own space, looking after my shit, and you're over there sovereign in yours. And that I don't need to make you right or wrong in order for me to feel justified in how I feel. Or you don't need to come over and spew your crap on me because you can't manage to emotionally self-regulate, because guess what? You never were shown how to. You never knew how to. Because when you were 7, you were told that you talk too much, or when you were 15, you were busy comparing yourself to every other person around you in an environment where everybody was just trying to break through the soil as a flower. When you were 24 and you didn't get the job that you got, and you've got a culmination of all of these things, all of your wounds, all of your scars, all of your stuff, with nowhere to go, because we can't internalize any of this anymore. We can't hold it. We can't, and nor do we want to. And so
and nor do we have to. We've always thought we had to.
Exactly. And so in our own individual sovereign spaces, where I take accountability and responsibility for myself, and you do the same for you, what we're actually doing is we're giving each other the permission to be. And another aspect of this that I'm really discovering over the last 6 weeks in particular is that it's okay to withdraw my time, energy, and presence from the things, from people, from situations, when I'm feeling myself starting to really spin out, when I can feel it as a little, a little bit of turbulence initially. And if I don't, maneuver myself within that space, it becomes a tornado. It becomes a motherfucking cyclone of shit if I don't stabilize my own field. And I'm understanding in the last 6 weeks in particular that it's okay to step back, that it's okay to go within, that it's okay for me to lock down within myself, so that I can take the time to bring my heart and my mind into coherence, into balance.
Yeah.
So that they're operating in synergy, so that when I step back into the arena with people, with other humans who are winging it as well, that I don't cause destruction and devastation in their lives because I couldn't control my presence within my weather. Mm-hmm. And to add to what you said a couple of minutes ago, the understanding and the knowing that that's okay to do too. That because of something I believed as a kid, which is the people who love me leave, which is completely unfounded, by the way.
Right.
Completely irrational.
Mm-hmm.
That if I step back from you, that if I don't engage in a conversation with you, that if I don't give you all of what I have, that you're going to go, you're going to leave me.
Right.
Or you're going to judge me. You're going to hate me for doing what I'm doing. You're going to project on me for trying to simply hold my center. And I'm understanding more than ever and loving the space that I'm in when I can openly and honestly say, I just don't have anything to say right now. And be okay with that. And let the other person deal with that themselves, if that makes sense.
It makes so much sense. And it's so interesting for me because what you're saying, I have heard before. I've had it told to me for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between understanding it cognitively and logically, right? It's that knowing, I think this is what it is, and I believe that, right? I trust that, I have faith in that, and actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
And you saying it to me now is landing on me totally different than it has in the past, because much of this conversation is stuff that you're watching click, right? You're watching the lights come on and you're watching all of that happen, because what I realize is that much of my projections and much of my stuff comes in the form of words. right? So it's not just the energy, but it's words. And I want to analyze, and I want to talk about, and I want to drudge through, and I want to do all of this stuff instead of just letting each deal with their shit. And knowing that I don't have to say anything anymore. It's not mine to fix. It's not mine to project what I'm going through on somebody else, because they're going through theirs.
Yeah.
Right? They don't need mine on top of theirs. And so how much it turns the tables of responsibility, to know that silence is in fact an option, and that most of what I say, it's just words. It's not adding value. It's not helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To add to what you've just said, for me, our words are loaded with frequency. They're loaded with energy. They're loaded with emotion. They're loaded with memories. They're loaded with thoughts. They're loaded with feelings, beliefs. Our words are loaded. Our English, or our language rather, our language is loaded.
Powerful.
And when until we start to deprogram our language, diffuse the attachment to our language and the words, I feel like we will almost always battle or struggle to, or rather not to, collide with each other as humans in relationships. When you're aware that the language that you are speaking, the words that you are saying, the tone in which you are delivering, the energy held within your body as you communicate with somebody, are all loaded with your programming, if this makes sense. And equally understand that in silence, which is shutting your mouth, removing your physical self, turning in, that what you do in that moment is give yourself the most phenomenal gift of self-empowerment by you refusing to engage in your story, your history, your programs, your old distorted perceptions, your attachments, your projections. You're refusing to engage with that when you choose silence. And when you choose silence, it's choosing you. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And you've just given me a visual, or a way of looking at how we interact with words and triggers and stuff, right? So what you just said for me, the way I envision that is, now, as I'm speaking words to you right now, they have embedded in them frequency, codes, whatever it is, however you hear me. And as that is received into your body, it clicks into a program that exists.
Yeah.
And kicks it off, right? So it kicks off reaction, it kicks off, emotion, feeling, tightness, and, whatever it is, right? Whatever that bodily experience is, that thought experience, that emotional experience, all gets kicked off. And that program starts running. And what we have within us is the ability to go, whoa, hey, that program sucks, because it takes me through unnecessary suffering. It takes you through unnecessary suffering. We can change the program. Right? And where it becomes, and that for me makes it feel so much more easy to navigate than feelings and emotions and bodily responses, right? Because those all feel like something that's, I can't put my hands on. But if I can do it around, if I can do it around, it's, almost like a computer program. You just activated something in me with your code, and I I don't necessarily want to run this program. So I've received your code, but I'm going to plug it into a new program. And maybe that is letting you deal with the reflection of that code and whatever that does for you. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Epic. And can I pull that apart again?
Yes.
Use the analogy of sending a text message.
Okay.
You're in America, I'm in Ireland. I don't even know where the fucking America you are right now, right? It's relevant.
Indiana.
There you go. I can send an instant text message to you in Indiana. You can send an instant text message to me in Ireland. Our programs are like are what we can actually send to each other.
Yes.
So take an example of rejection. If I have a deep-seated attachment to the program of rejection, and you have the same, what we can do is, via our story, our attachment to the story, our attachment to what happened, when it happened, how it happened, and not just the word rejection, but the experience of rejection when you were 4, 7, 12, 15, 27, 36, 58, 92. Via the man, the woman, the child, the teacher, the lover, the whatever, right? It's like the greatest rabbit hole ever. It's like this even image behind me. It goes everywhere. It goes everywhere, right? So then I send you a text message with rejection in my message, and you open it and you're like, ah, shit. What she's experiencing, I remember it from You're accessing your own memory bank of rejection, and the information stored. 9 times out of 10, we're accessing our pain and suffering.
Yes.
Without silence or your self-realization or actualization, you're accessing the silence, the option of silence. We almost feel obligated to send the text message back. Hey, I got your message. Let me tell you, my shit's worse than yours.
Right. We want to compare.
And I'm loving what happened there, because like what you said shows the lid off version of when we rumble our shit. I'm showing what we've actually been living as a collective, which is, let me share my pain with you. And in me sharing my pain with you, I justify my pain. And in your receiving of my pain, I'm acknowledging that my pain is okay. And hang on a minute, what about you? What did you say happened to you back in 1987? You know, and we do this dance instead of realizing that our words, our language, the capacity, how we communicate, how we hear, how we think, how we talk, how we express, is so embedded with our own individual, unique experience of a word like rejection, that what we do when we continue to project or engage or dance is we spew. We keep engaging with the story. We keep fueling our own fire. Never, ever, ever giving a chance for another person to sit with their own shit.
Right. Never
acknowledge and hang on a minute, this doesn't feel good. I'm actually not going to return this text message and push the device back. And instead turn in, and leave the other person frantic going, okay, this doesn't feel good. Where is she? Why isn't she texting back? I mean, I know I feel right in feeling like this. You can nearly see it like a kid. And that's what's happening is you're leaving the other person with the experience to live out in the timeline, in that very moment, that their shit got embedded.
Yes.
So for like we teenager going, oh, my friend, where's my friend? She's not justifying my shit.
Mm-hmm. And we surround ourselves by people who will justify our shit.
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what we used to do,
Yeah.
I think, right? I think
Yep. Go on.
I I think as I go inward and really begin to accept what you just said, because I know it comes with grief.
Mm.
It comes with anger, because I have to own that I have done all of those things, right? Not in any way meaning to hurt anyone around me, but I have hurt many people around me. And there's a certain amount of grief that comes with that, even at the same time as I have to balance and know that it wasn't through any fault or blame that I can place on myself for having done so.
Yeah.
Right? But taking full accountability and saying, from this moment forward, I'm going to do my best to remember that and to be responsible with my words and to be responsible with my actions and to really show up and listen and be present and let that be the gift that it is. And know that I will forget.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. But man, how much we have laid upon ourselves and on each other is in this human experience. How easy we hurt each other without realizing it because it's our own pain. It's kind of a mind fuck when you think about it.
Absolutely. And just to amplify your mind fuck, just to add, not just because it's the easiest thing for us to do and say, what have I done? But also to acknowledge, and not from a victim place, a victim-based place, but to acknowledge the things that we have allowed or endured from a
Yes.
place of not knowing. And equally, because we are human, to compassionately bear witness to that. And that when the anger rises, which it does because we're like, I can't believe I allowed that shit for as long as I have, to allow the sadness to come up through that, to equally support, I didn't know. I didn't know.
I didn't know.
And to allow the compassion to come up again through that and say, we know now. And from this point, I'm equally done with your shit as I expect you to be done with mine. And bring it really back into the human experience.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we're going to forget.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the gold. That's the gold for me right there. The experience that I am going to forget. And the experience of remembering. That for me,
You just lit my whole body up. I'm vibrating.
I love it. That's what we came here for. That's what we came here for. And in those spaces, you cannot forget. You cannot forget that you are fucking love. You cannot. You cannot.
Mm-mm.
And in that space, the whole world expands.
It does. And one of the things that I am trying to navigate, right, is how do we do that at work, right? Like, so I have a job that pays my bills, right? I'm pretty good at it. I mean, I'm still there. But, there's not a whole lot of room for me to have a conversation with somebody that's like, hey, man, I really see you and I understand the way you're talking to me on this call. You clearly have an issue around your own value and, you want people to see you as powerful in this call. I can't do that shit at work, right? Like, we're not doing kumbaya at work.
Brilliant. You know what you've just done? You've put yourself into a container of the most impeccable mirrors of you everywhere, so that you can't go and have that conversation with them. But what you can do is witness yourself in them.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Now,
and that's what's so hard about it, right? Because,
that's what I was going to say. It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier for you to witness, the love and light in someone than it is to acknowledge the asshole in someone. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it is, I mean, to your point, we can do it. There's that part of me that wants my life to be, I want this human existence. I want to get paid to do this.
Yeah, me too.
I want to get paid to show up and be real about what's happening in our lives, right? I want to do the stuff that lights me up and lights other people up around me. And I feel like, and this is the realization, right? This is where the light just came on. I feel like I can't do that in the job that's completely business and driven by greed and global, organization that, but the reality is that's my work. Right. That's the gold, right? That's my work. My work is to show up and do that well.
Yeah. But you have created this environment created by you, for you, for your highest growth and expansion, and from a place of unconditional love, which means I must fall in love with the assholes, which means I must fall in love with the mirrors of myself that are everywhere, which means that as I fine tune and recalibrate my inner asshole so that leaves and gives permission for the light that I am to actually rise up in me, what I become anchored down, bedded down, hammered down in the middle of an environment of assholes is I become this center point of just presence and love and honoring myself through all waves of whatever comes up, because I'm human. And then when I change and recalibrate all of this from within me, what happens is the lighthouse isn't worried about the ships and the weather. The lighthouse is just shining. It's just beaming out this light. And what it does is it shows the other ships where to go, how to navigate themselves, to stabilize themselves. Because if one ship can find its way to that lighthouse or around it, then this one can, and then this one can, and then this one can. And so it doesn't matter what the job. I'm in a prison, and I'm not saying that, I am not. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm the light, sometimes I'm the asshole. And I am what I am based on where I am in that given moment, but I just don't beat myself up about it anymore. What I'm saying is, this is how we change the world. This is the nucleus that you are in, that you have created for yourself to learn and grow and expand. That's your work environment. These are the relationships. These are your children. These are whatever that are all around you, created by you, for you. And so your job isn't to learn how do I, this isn't me telling you what to do. This is just my vantage point. But your job isn't to, or our job isn't to try and make them see or acknowledge the distortions within themselves, but to rumble the distortions within ourselves so that we can recalibrate from the inside out, so that we can remove those programs. So those programs do not exist on the outside. Why? Because they don't exist on the inside. Our internal world is reflected by our external. If it's chaos out here, it's because it's chaos in here. Your only job, from my opinion, my vantage point, is to tame the chaos within yourself, to love the shit out of yourself, to honor yourself, to honor your heart, to honor your breath, honor the body, honor the mind, honor just you. And when you open your eyes and you look around and you see a mirror of you that you love and you resonate with, you go, come here, I want more of you. And if you see over here a mirror of you that you go, fuck, that you don't go, oh, I don't want to see this shit anymore. You're an asshole. It's that what in me is active. What in me is active that I can witness your asshole and not the divinity within you? And you don't have to touch what's outside of you. They touch themselves. They orchestrate this change themselves. That's just the way I see it. And it's, you know, like I said, I'm in a prison, so it's not the easiest environment to see, because my inner asshole wants to react sometimes because they're intense mirrors. But that's just the container I've created for myself. You could have somebody out there. You could have somebody out there working in like a spiritual retreat center, and it's the most spiritual place to be, and it could be full to the brim of assholes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. There's no separation. To go back to what we said at the very beginning of this conversation, and to organically and beautifully close it out, is that there is no separation. There's just you. There's just you and your mirrors and your history, which is your wisdom.
Yeah.
Your wisdom there for your use.
Michael said on the Monday morning, a part of that was that we all have a role, and some of us have chosen the role of not waking up.
Yes.
And it's just as valuable.
Yes.
It's just as valuable. It's just as sacred. It's to be honored just as much. And that's the really hard part, is honoring, right? It's inviting the shame and the shadow and everything to be loved on the altar of our hearts. It's to bring it all in. It's to see that humanity in us and to love it. And to your point, to see it in each other and to love it, even when it's not in a human package that makes us feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
Or reflects back the parts of us that we don't always want to be with.
Yeah.
But that the shame and the shadow is just as much a part of us as the light and the love.
And just as beneficial to another. Let those who want to sleep, sleep. I know
Right.
I wouldn't really be too impressed if someone came in and shook the shit out of me at 5 a.m. and tried to wake me up in the bed. It's
Right.
the same thing. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. And when we honor ourselves, we learn to honor everyone and everything around us. There are people who I love in my life who are going through the shit, and it might feel similar to a journey I have taken, but it won't be my journey. And I will want with all of my heart to go in there and prevent them from going through just a fraction of what I've gone through, because it hurt me as much as it did. But it's not my place.
Right.
And for me, the recovering people pleaser and let me fix you because it makes me feel good about myself from 10 years ago version that doesn't want that experience anymore. It is tough to let the sleeping sleep, but it's a necessary part of both my journey and theirs, of your journey and theirs. And like you said, it's everybody having their own experience in their own way for whatever they need in their own time. There's no time limit on this other than how are you feeling right now. That's it.
Yeah.
Right now, how are you feeling? And if I'm feeling epic, again, more. And if I'm not, what am I doing about it? Yeah.
Well, in my case, I'm eating a lot of carbs and sugar too. So that's what I'm doing about it. Or not eating at all.
What harm? I'm not sleeping. It is what it is.
One of
We
the
are where
two.
we are. But
Yeah.
come here, listen, I really appreciate you jumping on for this. This is the most spontaneous thing ever. Like I said before, I'm not even sure what time you start messaging me at, but I'm really grateful that you did, because here we are. And that was the most, that conversation just lit me up like a Christmas tree, honestly. So I really appreciate you doing it. And
Yes.
I hope that
Thank you.
I hope that you, when you watch this back, enjoy being reintroduced, or rather introduced to this new version of you. Because it's
Thank
going to be
you.
different in about another hour as well.
Certainly.
Thank you so
Certainly.
much.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Mwah. Love you.